par with the way that video and kind of stuff. I feel like the original kind of incarnation of the Facebook wall might have actually allowed you to draw on it, or maybe that was on Friendster. But which was trying to emulate the notion of actually tagging a wall.
Right.
It was appropriating a language from an earlier form of kind of communication, so it's interesting to kind of think of those things and also to see it, because the problem is that life does go on. The Lebanese experience shows us that life can go on under even much more kind of like wild conditions than what we see here. But I have a friend who was running from gunfire on 6th of October Bridge and ran down and finds himself in Zamalek, and there's a kind of older woman comes up to one of the balaclava wearing commandos and just asks him, "Is there something going on? Is the net closed?" So this stuff happens. There's a lot in between kind of the revolutionary and the very ordinary, and both of them seem to exist on top of each other at times. And I think that bringing out that tension in times where things are most ordinary is a very interesting challenge. And, we'll go left to right.
There are talks now that the state, and especially the army, has changed their ways of controlling humanity. After the 2011, after the flood of Atomic Tahrir, and the mere use of coercive power and sheer violence in Madhaf al-Masri and all of these places, and now there are more tendency to control through psychological manipulations, through the figure and comparison to the Nasrite era, through the love in the air and the romanism after all. But do you see in the recordings and in the archives this transition in the means of use of control and in the perceptions of people actually about and their realization actually about what's happening?
That's a good question. I mean, I think part of it goes back to what I was saying about, is that people now feel like they need to perform a certain type of belief. But I don't know. I mean, I look back and, kind of February 2011 and March, I mean, the sit-in in March was cleared by civilians standing side by side with the army doing their national duty as well. I mean, we haven't seen a diminishment of the level of violence. On the contrary, we've seen an escalation. But whether or not they're becoming more effective in kind of non-coercive mechanisms, I think there's an open question. I mean, maybe they have. I think now the issue is that the media has signed on wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
I think that this is even before we criticized them, and they deserved criticism before, but now they are effectively acting as just a direct outlet. I mean, the state TV now is running video pieces produced by the Ministry of Interior, which is just like, I was quite surprised. I mean, because it's not like they weren't necessarily taking their side before, but this is a new level, and it's something that provides a difficulty of dealing with, because you're talking about money and power, and you're talking about very, very kind of, large structures that one is attempting to deal with. We as a collective of 15 people with almost no budget, volunteering our time, would like to think that we're attempting to provide alternative forms of media, but at the same time, it is very clear kind of what the extent of one's reach. I think also, I don't know, maybe they have become more effective, or maybe they've just gotten lucky. I think that maybe they just have gotten lucky, and people are actually more willing to just, if not believe it, then just let it go. Like with the Constitution, everyone I talked to in the Constitution said, "Why are you saying yes? Let's just get it over." Just like, let's just, okay, this is what you want, fine. I'll do this, and then what? And then what? We'll do all of this. Just get us to somewhere different. And I think that maybe I don't want to, make any proclamations, but hopefully this is the kind of last time that works. Maybe by just spending all of their cards and promising people the moon so directly this time, that who knows what the kind of backlash eventually is going to be. Hopefully great.
We'll take one more question.
I came toward the end of the discussion or something, and I find it very interesting how you're talking about, you mentioned something along the line of parallel memories, something like that, if I'm right? Well,
I don't remember, I'm sorry. Yes. This is something that I'm talking about in my PhD, and about political psychology and the memory of the masses and the memory of the people. And just one question I have is, you're talking mainly about the memory of the state-generated memory, right? While I was doing my own field research, I also realized, and I think you may have, or anyone else engaged in this issue might have also noticed this, that people are actually creating their own memories, their own versions of memories, as some kind of a reaction to those state-generated memories, as a reaction to the hearsays, people, whatever they generate on the street. Like, for example, like a guy from Iowa or something like that, he feels advising people whether to say yes or no to the Constitution. This is their own, let's say, memory-generating mechanism, etc. So how do you see the future of these counter memories created by the people themselves, disregarding or regardless of the power mechanism used by the state to impose certain memory? I think that I'm perfectly happy with an infinity of competing memories. I mean, because what it really means, I mean, history gets dangerous when it becomes monolithic. I think that when we try and deal with memory, like I was saying, we try and do so as a means of actually creating dissensus, not of always saying that this is how it was, but that it happened different than you say, and opening up the space for disagreement, for kind of conflict, political conflict, not necessarily argument but conflict over meaning that I think is generative of what we want. I mean, we want a more sort of heterogeneous kind of system. We want things to be more open, and you do that by chiseling away at the kind of enclosure that's formed by kind of single monolithic interpretations of memories, which is why when the media is all on the same page, it is so dangerous, because it doesn't have to be that they all, or that they're all critical, but at certain points, if they're at least saying things in different ways, then it opens up a space for kind of this dissensus I'm talking about, where I can say that, well, this is a little bit different than this, or they're both saying this, but they mean something different by it. This is, I think, to me very, productive. So, I would be happy to see, everyone become a storyteller, everyone become kind of a bearer of memory. Part of what, Mosireen has tried to do is to, get everybody to kind of be a producer of memory by documenting, by giving trainings, by telling people it doesn't matter what camera hat you have, it doesn't matter who you are, we're not journalists, you're not a journalist, but go and film and kind of document, and this is the process by which we shape what is happening now. It's the process of how we tell the story.
So I'm going to give Adam first.
Sorry, I have to go teach, my students can wait, but I mean, we didn't talk about this, but I mean, and obviously we're very happy that Sherief came as a member of Mosireen, because Mosireen is an extremely important group, and has been very important for the last 2 years. But the thing that everybody should know is that Sherief wrote the most important account of Rabaa and the aftermath of Rabaa in any language that I know of. And I think, yes, you did. You have 2 essays over the summer, and they are certainly, I think everyone should read them, anybody who wants to know anything about what happened over the summer. And there's this kind of funny moment, because, obviously that was probably the most important event in the past 3 years, I think, in historical terms. And we know, the same sort of status held by the 18 days among us, among a certain group of us. Rabaa is going to have that status. And you can imagine a very different history for Egypt, where the 18 days means nothing to anybody, and Rabaa becomes a founding myth of a new nation. Mm-hmm. And it's just, I don't know when this country will ever confront what happened over the summer, but I think, obviously your essays are an important starting point, but I think everybody should go read them immediately. But in addition to obviously the important work you're doing with Mosireen, you've thought more about what happened over the summer than a lot of people. And I mean, is it just going to be this festering thing? Is the country ever going to deal with it? I mean, most of us pretend like it didn't happen, right? Most of us do. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think it's an open question. I think though, it's very interesting to think again, kind of thinking about how causality kind of works or doesn't. The direct connection between the 25th of January and Ramadan. If the 25th of January had not happened, Ramadan would not have happened.
Right.
And what that, I mean, that can mean any number of things, you know, like we could sit down and, but the events are inevitably connected, and they're connected directly, but also kind of, they're connected through the sort of opposition between them, or the kind of perceived opposition between the two of their meanings. You know, I agree with you. We could see a situation where that is the kind of historical moment and the rest isn't. I think that the goal, though, is to attempt also to find a way in which we can talk about both of them, in which both of these, because in the end, both of them, you know, implicate the same state, the same police, the same regime. You know, and this is the point at which they find direct commonality. How you operationalize that is incredibly difficult, because you are then back to dealing with opposing political ideologies and you know, parties which are in many ways intransigent in this sort of thing. I mean, that political question is different, but you know, the fact that you can, you know, point, or that you can use both of them to kind of point one finger at one party is, I think, a very powerful starting point. I think it says a lot.
So please join me in thanking.
Thank you, everybody.